Rodrigo, and I'm coming from the Attorney General's office. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with our office and what we do, so I'm going to start just with a kind of a more basic overview, and if I'm a little redundant and you guys already know this, I'm sorry. But so I'm coming from a very new division of the office. It's called the Community Engagement Division. It was started earlier this year, February, March, and I've been working in the office there in a different division for a while, but now I work in this new division. A lot of our work is designed to kind of bring our services, our resources, our staff out of the office and into the communities that we're trying to serve. So now just talk a little about the office as a whole. So we're a state agency. So Maura Healy is the new Attorney General. She was elected at the end of last year, and she was inaugurated in January. And our office, I guess, our first primary role is that we are a law firm. And we are a law firm that represents all of the residents here in the state. As Maura likes to say, we are the people's law firm. And the work that we do is often, we represent the state, or I should say the residents of the state, when there are big, bad companies, organizations doing things that are hurting or taking advantage of a lot of people here. So, for example, there's a company that comes in that has very deceptive practices. They're taking a lot of money from, from consumers. And we would, for example, sue them to try to get that money back for the people in the state. So that's a lot of the ways that people think of us. We're this law firm. We do a lot of legal work. That is very true. That is the work that we do. We are the chief law enforcement officer in the state. We write a lot of regulations when new laws come out. We enforce those regulations, etc. But we also have another side to our office, which is that we provide a variety of different free services to individuals to try to help them resolve a kind of variety of different issues that might come up. So, for example, the first division that I worked in and the office is called the Public Inquiry and Assistance Center, which is currently getting a new name, but for now that's what it's called. And what we do there is we do a lot of consumer protection work. So let's say that you go and you buy a car from a dealership. And a week later, your car breaks down, you take it in somewhere, they tell you it's going to cost you a few $1,000s to fix. You take it back to the dealership, you're like, hey, I didn't sign up for this, this car's got all these problems. They say, no, that's your problem, you signed this contract right here, blah, 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 blah. You don't really know where to go with that. You can call our office, you can file a complaint, and my job there was as a mediator. And so what I did was I would get a complaint like that, and I would call up the person who filed the complaint, get a better understanding of what's happening, and then I call the business on your behalf. So I say, hi, ABC dealership, my name's Rodrigo, I'm a mediator at the Attorney General's office, we've got, received this complaint, I'm calling to see if there's some way that we can work this out. And so, we essentially offer this mediation service for pretty much any consumer issue you might be having. You buy a vacuum that breaks down, you're trying to return it, it doesn't work out. You have a problem with your landlord, they haven't fixed things in your house and it's been sitting there for months on end, or really a really big, broad range of things that we can offer mediation for. And this is a free service to any resident in the state. So that's what I did in the beginning. But that's just one division, and we have many. So, for example, we have a civil rights division. If you felt like you were being discriminated against in housing, employment, other things like that, you can file a complaint with our office and we can try to help with that. As well, we have a fair labor division. So let's say you're not sure that you're not getting paid overtime. You don't believe that you're getting paid the minimum wage. You're not getting enough breaks. You have a question. Can my place of employment require me to purchase my uniform? You want to know the answer to that question. You can call our office. You can file a complaint. We have service available. We can do investigations. We can help, try to, bring light to these situations and resolve them. But we can also answer your questions. Any question you might have to make sure that, your rights in the workplace are being protected. So, that's your Fair Labor Division. That's civil rights. I told you about PIAC. Of course, there is a Consumer Protection Division as well. That is a lot more of the legal side of that consumer protection stuff, but there is a division there. There's Home Corps. Home Corps is designed to help keep people in their homes when they're facing foreclosure. You have a mortgage, you're having a hard time paying it off, you're having a hard time talking to your mortgage company. If you go into default, they're going to foreclose on you. You can call our office, and we have essentially lawyers who can essentially be advocates for you. Talk to these companies to try to work something out to keep you in your home. And we also have Insurance Financial Services. So that's you're having a problem with, your auto insurance, you have questions about your student loans, I mean, really a wide variety of things. So all these divisions exist in our office, and they're here to try to answer your questions and to provide as much help as they can to advocate for you. Now, of course, there are always limits to the things that we can do. We aren't necessarily able to solve every problem, but at the same time, the division I worked in, for example, we are also a directory for services. So if you were to call our office and start to tell us about an issue that we couldn't solve, maybe you have a problem with a particular public school and you want to know who it is you should be talking to get that resolved, or your utility company is making you pay a rate that you don't think you should be paying, and that's something that's going to be taken care of by a different state agency. We are trained there to essentially know or be able to find out where you should go. So even if we aren't the ones who can solve it for you, we can still give you the information, the referral you might need, or several, to go and try to get help from somebody or another organization. So we provide, like I said, a lot of different services, come in different forms, and we really also are here to educate as well. So one thing I brought with me today, which is just one piece, this is like a one-page document, which essentially every hotline we have on it at our office. So you have the one I was describing earlier, you have one for home court, fair labor, civil rights, insurance financial services, Medicaid fraud, victim witness and assistance division. We have literally all these different hotlines. But what I will say is this: at the very top is essentially the division I worked in, Public Inquiry and Assistance Center, and they have a hotline here. If you call that one at the top with any problem, anything that you're not sure which division you should go to, you're not sure where you should, they will direct you. They'll say, hey, this is the division you should, I will connect you to the Fair Labor Division, I'll connect you to Civil Rights, or this is something better handled by the Department of Public Safety, here's their phone number, here's who you can talk to. So I brought a bunch of these for anybody who would like one. You can put up on your fridge until that one day comes up, you got a big question, you got to answer, you got to get an answer for it, give us a call. But like I said, I'm coming from the Community Engagement Division. Our goal really is just to make sure that people know that we're here to help and that we have services available. So that's been my role. And once again, I really appreciate you guys allowing me to be here and to take up some of your time. I'm going to leave all of these right here in case anybody wants them at a later time. And I don't know if anybody has any questions for me about the office or anything else. Yes?
Mr. Piazza, you mentioned on all those examples, they seem to be investigations of private entities, and it sounded like a consumer protection role. Is within that division or another division, can people ask that a public agency or even a town or city government be investigated for, say, violating their charter, for instance?
Sure. So it depends a little bit on the specifics, but what I would say is this. Generally speaking, our role, like I said, is as we represent the state as a chief law enforcement officer. What that means is that when we are doing any kind of mediation or when we're doing any kind of legal work, we represent the residents of the state. But whenever a state agency is being sued for something, our office is also generally the one that will step in to protect the state. So if there's a state agency that's being sued, now in some cases, although this I would say are more rare, we can decide not to essentially just, we're not going to be a part of this case and not protect this agency. But we cannot essentially mediate something between like a public agency and an individual consumer, because we would technically have a conflict of interest in that case. So that's one reason why that's generally not going to be something that we can help with, although there is another agency of our Office of the Inspector General, which sometimes gets confused with our office, and they essentially are the ones who oversee state agencies. And if there was fraud, waste, abuse of power in a state agency, they would be the ones who could do the legal work to essentially bring that to light.
But what about local government?
Right, now, so that's the next thing, is local government. So we have some divisions there that essentially, so I haven't worked there to the greatest extent because I didn't work in those divisions, but I know a little bit about them. What I can say is we have a division of open government. They enforce open meeting laws to make sure that people are, when people are having meetings, that these are being done in the, according to regulations and everything like that. And we also essentially, when a city is going to, they want help with like zoning laws or things like that, and they're trying to make sure that those comply with state law and things like that, our office does do a certain amount of review of those laws to make sure that those things are compliant. But if there was a specific issue that you're talking, that you think there's a fraud or abuse or something like that you would like us to investigate, I can't say for sure whether we could or not, but that's exactly why you would want to call our office, to find out if we can, and if not, who could and who you should talk to about it. So that's something that we could definitely provide on a case-by-case basis. I hope that was a good enough answer. I'm sorry it's a little bit broad. Yeah. Any other questions?
I can answer or add something else to the answer to Dave's question, which is don't call the city law department. And the reason is, I worked as an assistant corporation counsel 50 years ago.
And that's why I wouldn't call it.
What is the plan? Don't call it the emeritus assistants either. The reason is that in those days, and I'm sure the answer would be the same now, the answer would be the city law department represents the mayor, the city council, and department heads, and answers questions directed to them by those in such official capacity, but not citizens. Your office is in stark contrast to the limitation that the city law department applies to itself. I compliment you for that. Great to hear.
If there are any more questions, if there aren't, not a problem. I'll leave some of my contact information here. Unfortunately, I can't stay to the end of this evening's meeting, but like I said, I'll leave all these here for anybody like me. If anybody would like any more of those, I can certainly bring those. I work right way. So
I'll make sure that this gets posted to our website as well.
Absolutely.
If you have an electronic version.
Yeah, I can send that along.
Okay, great.
And we have also, like a lot of other educational materials. If anyone would like one, we can actually send it to your house for free. We can do that. We have a new guide on landlord-tenant rights, retail rights. We have tips on charitable giving. What to look for, make sure that the company, the charity is asking is legitimate, et cetera, et cetera.
Like NEWRA.
Yeah, exactly. We actually, our charities division does a lot of essentially when people want to have a nonprofit or charity, they end up having to do registration through our office, so we can actually tell you whether they have been registered to do that kind of work in the state. So there's a lot of other educational materials. Please, like I said, if you have any questions, please call me or that number to ask, and we'd be happy to do our best to give you the information. Right. Awesome. Thank you very much.